Hey everybody, it's Coffee with Mick, a frank and honest discussion about whatever I want to talk about in the moment. I finally sat down and watched the final film of the TNG era, Star Trek Nemesis. Star Trek Nemesis. Star Trek Nemesis. Insurrection was critically panned during the time, but I can defend that movie as being like just a long Star Trek special that should have been shown on TV rather than released theatrically. But Star Trek Nemesis, like for starters, the villain should have been Sela, Tashi Yar's daughter. But then people was like, oh, it would be too confusing to complain who this character was to the audience. As if explaining that Romulans just had a slave race this entire time, and the Romulan government made a clone of Picard, who was raised by the Remans, this entire time is any less of an info dump. You just needed one goddamn line of dialogue. It's like, oh, Sela, daughter of Tashi Yar. Bam, there's your villain. And then you could have, bookended the whole Romulan conflict. God, the Remans kind of, Honestly, the Remans are just a squicky concept to me because they seriously made the bad guys in a film like an oppressed slave race that wants to rise above the people who enslaved them and bred them just for battle. And they're not like the Jem'Hadar, no, they're basically an offshoot of Romulans who just look all batty and whatnot and are more telepathic. Yeah. Also, there's a scene where Deanna Troi is, let's just say, assaulted by the Reman Viceroy, and no one liked that scene. It was... Why? It's a known fact Myrna Sirtis hates this movie. I don't blame her. There are parts I liked, but mostly the action scenes. In terms of a Trek film, it doesn't have that, moral relativism, the whimsy. Yeah. Also, the introduction of B4 was completely unnecessary. It turns out that Dr. Soong, he made a prototype android before Data and Lore. And you just learned about this just now, and the only people who discovered it were the Remans. How did they discover this Soong type android? Where did they find it? Makes literally no sense. And of course, Data sacrifices himself. That's very sad. But, once again, it's kind of superseded by how goddamn stupid this movie is. Also, did Michael Dorn have a cold? It sounded like he had a cold during this film. He didn't really have much of a role in it either. Yeah. Just kind of there. Oh boy. It was nice to see Janeway as an admiral, but, I feel we could have had, more cameos. I feel that this should have been, people... I'm not the first person who said this. This should have been the undiscovered country for the TNG era, but it ends up just feeling like, the final frontier. Star Trek 5. Yeah. Seriously, Shinton card. Like the evil clone thing, really? I'm you if you were raised differently, blah blah blah. I don't care. Oh my god. the villain is just a forgotten Romulan supervillain plan. That's it. That's just it. We're just dealing with the Romulan scraps. So stupid. I enjoyed a lot of the film. You know, there's the dune buggy part was fun, but once again, Star Trek needs to be more than just action scenes. I feel this was part of like a start in the wrong direction for how they were going to do Trek in the future. Go a lot more action-centric over philosophy and sci-fi. Yeah. That and honest. Also, why the fuck is Worf even here? He's not their security officer. Oh wait, well they were going to a wedding. Okay, so never mind. Yeah, not that weird. But he was also ambassador to the Klingon Empire. Is he also still working for Starfleet at this point? I'm confused. Stop pretending Deep Space Nine didn't happen. In fact, have cast members from Deep Space Nine. Julian Bashir, Miles O'Brien, frickin' Colonel Kira. Yeah, come on. That'd be fun. At least Miles O'Brien. At least Miles O'Brien. Right. I mean, Voyager just ended, and that's not gonna get a movie. Deep Space Nine's not gonna get a movie. You know, Star Trek Nemesis, my rating, 750,000 out of a million hamburgers. Not the worst movie I've ever seen, but probably the worst Star Trek movie I've ever seen. And once again, that's including Star Trek 5. I hope you enjoyed this review. It turned into a review. But I hope you, as always, have a morning.